right. Welcome back to Mixtape Stories. Today we have our guest, Luis. How's it going?
I don't know. Now I don't know what to... I'm Ricky Bobby all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with my hands. So Luis is going to make a playlist of emo essentials, emo must-haves.
Yeah, my emo must-haves, because I know that's it's such a wide-ranging topic. For me, emo night reminds me of you, reminds me of my friend Carlos. So many memories. It's also deeply unserious. Like, to me at an emo night as an adult, but it's still so much fucking fun, so...
Yeah, it's so I've had conversations where we've talked about, like, this is like our parents going to, like, a hair metal night in the 2000s. And yeah, I think that's the key to it, is you can't be too serious about it. And I feel like the whole, like, quote unquote, like, elder emo seriousness of things is just very, like, nauseating.
Well, I think it also comes, like, emo night specifically. I don't know how... You mentioned the hair metal thing, like, as an equivalent. I don't know if our parents or that generation went to as many concerts as we did. Like, there was a big concert that would come into town every now and then. But for me, emo, that whole time period was living at the White Rabbit, being at shows every weekend, even if it was a big band or a little band or a local band. That whole time frame was about the music. It was about the experiences. And in retrospect, for me, it's a little cheesy because of the emotions. That's the emo-ness of it all. That's why I say it's deeply unserious. That was one of my... We'll get to it, but that's why I picked that first song. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that, the whole scene was kind of extrapolated because, you had, like, the LA scene for hair metal, but that was... I felt like you don't hear about local, like, San Antonio bands from that area. You do, like, if you had a family member or someone from those bands, but not to the same extent where people are still talking about seeing, like, Westbound Departure 20 years ago, It's interesting just to see. I never thought about that. The whole local scene.
Yeah, the local scene was, I feel like it was really important to the whole emo 2000s. It was just, I don't know. I probably should ask my parents about this, but I don't know any person of that age that was like, oh yeah, I was at a concert venue every weekend seeing whatever band was coming through town from New Jersey or whatever.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know. It's fun to think about. I feel like it's reached a point now of in the mainstream to where we've got, like, stuff like When We Were Young that has really embraced the nostalgia of it all. And I feel like TikTok, maybe it's just the algorithm that I'm on. It goes back and forth from younger people who are, like, embracing it, and then people my age who used to be made fun of for the emo type of emo that they listen to, who are now gatekeeping that emo. Yeah, it's just this whole cycle of, I guess, ridiculousness is the best way to put it.
And then When We Were Young, for me, I like the idea of it. I like the thought of it, but it also feels like very price gouging. So I would never. I love emo songs, and I would love to see those bands again, but I felt like it was just too expensive, even as an adult, like, in having adult money. For me, it was just like, it was kind of like an emo night live, which I think Austin does every now and then too.
Yeah, I think that, and that's another thing too. Just, I mean, I really enjoyed the idea of emo night when it was kind of new. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just going to sit here and say, like, I'm over it or anything like that, but, like, I don't want to pay $15 to, like, listen to songs that aren't being played by the artists.
It was all, especially when it first started, because I probably haven't been to an emo night since before COVID. I don't even know if they still really do it in earnest. Yeah. And it's not just like a gimmick, like, to get people in a bar. But at least when it was, like, popularized here in town, it was like, oh man, I'm probably going to see my friends that I haven't seen in a long time and listen to jam out to some music. It was an event, and it was like, once a month, the last Wednesday of the month, and it was something to look forward to. It was fun. It was about the music, but it was also about, like, seeing your friends and reliving old times type thing. So I think that's why it hit so hard again, that second wave. And we're talking about it so seriously, but it was just so much fun. It was like a cheesy fun. Like, we were just singing along to, like, music that we liked when we were kids.
I think I realized that I had reached a point where not that this wasn't the place for me, but rather like this, I've reached a point where like, oh, like this isn't as fun as it used to be. I requested the Bled, you know who's seatbelt, and the floor just cleared. It was me like going like, hell yeah, this is my song, and two guys doing like ninja moves. I'm like, oh god, am I the old person now?
I better mosey on out of here. Yeah. I get this feeling like I went to go see Taylor Swift's Eras tour, and I went in sort of was super. I don't hate Taylor Swift. I just didn't know any of her music, and I was really just driving my sister and her friends. And if you drive me, you can come with us. Yeah. And I left that concert missing all of the concerts I went to like as a kid. It was fucking spectacular. And we've been to a lot of concerts. I left wishing I'd known more songs, because seeing everyone participate in the way that I remember the shows used to be, like being about like, oh, I know every fucking song. Yeah. This is my favorite artist. And I know this is not something that's unique to Taylor Swift, that there's other artists that have super fans like that. But there was a moment where even me, who I'm not like a Taylor Swift fan, it was that song, her most popular one about Romeo and Juliet. I could feel it in my literal bones. Like I looked around and like 100,000 people just like screaming the same song. And even I knew the lyrics. It felt so, I felt nostalgic for all of our emo stuff that we used to go. Like my favorite show that I ever went to, we skipped school. It was me and my friend Carlos and a bunch of people. And it was one of those shows at the White Rabbit where it was like 1 in, 1 out. So there was a line to get in, and it was, Chiodos was headlining. Before them, it was Emery. Before them, it was who sings "Hey John, What's Your Name Again"?
It's one of my blind spots. That era,
that whole era. But it was a few bands, and I didn't get into the venue until Emery's Walls started playing. And for me, like, that's a core memory. Like, literally, someone walked out, and I'm, like, running in as Walls is starting to play. Emery's Walls is one of, like, my favorite songs of that era of all time. And the venue literally shaking and just being, like, a kid. I'd skipped school all day to be there, to get in line. And it was, like, one of the best feelings ever. And that I thought about that again, oddly enough, while I was at the Taylor Swift concert.
I think that's kind of like the point of this podcast, is that these songs, I don't even know necessarily if it is the like quality of the songs themselves so much as it is the memories that are attached to them. And I feel like a lot of the nostalgia that we have for us is not just because we like the music, but because it reminds us of stuff like that. I feel like I go to a lot of shows and I'm waiting for them to play the song I like so I can leave.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I do that. That's what I do with my adult money. It's like, I really like this band. I like 3 songs. Okay, I'm going to go check it out for these 3 songs, hang in the back and enjoy.
Cross your arms. And
I think I did that for Taking Back Sunday recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're not great singers now. Or maybe they never were. Maybe Taking Back Sunday was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, no, it's funny you bring up Taking Back Sunday, because on TikTok there is this whole thing about them at Coachella, specifically Adam at Coachella, and how bad he's singing. And I love the comments of people who are like, he's always been this bad.
Yeah, he has, but I don't know if, because I've pretty much seen them every time they've come through Texas, and it has gotten progressively worse. But to sing at the range that he was singing those songs, at the age that he was singing them, I don't think it ever realistically was sustainable. But
yeah,
I want to go see them again. They're coming back in June or something, so I'd like to go check it out one more time too.
It's weird. They've become kind of like the legacy band where they come once a year. I saw early November at a small.
They're coming back too. Yeah, with Hello Goodbye, no less. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw them at Come and Take It in Austin, and it's a little bit smaller. And that's the most alive I've felt at a concert in a very long time. That wasn't like a huge thing, and it's because there was probably about 200 people. It wasn't a lot of people, but everyone was singing along to every song. And I was like, fuck, this is what I miss about this era.
Yeah. I saw Joyce Manor recently. That was a lot of fun.
So great live.
I think it was last year. They're still good. They played with Citizen. Did they play with Citizen? Maybe I'm confusing, but Citizen played at that same venue. So I do love Citizen. Should have made my mixtape, to be honest.
Well, 4 of your 5 songs are from 2004, so you have a specific era, very specific. The other one is from 2005, so
it was I think middle school was 2004, or high school was my first year of high school. So yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
So all the core memories were formed, kind of thing.
Yeah. So getting into your first song, Buried Alive by Census Fail, is the first single off of Let It Enfold You. Came out in 2004. This is technically, I guess not technically, this is their debut album, because before that they had their EP. Why did you choose this song?
I picked it first because I keep mentioning that term, deeply unserious. And this song for me epitomizes how deeply unserious. It's like a 3-act play about a detective, but at the time it felt so like, it felt so edgy. And specifically Census Fail, I don't know what it was, but I couldn't pinpoint the time or place of it, but I remember thinking they were a little bit corny even back then. And I have this very specific memory of my friend John. We were at that venue. Oh man, Graham Central Station.
Oh wow.
Doesn't exist anymore. Speaking of venues that don't exist. And I'm jamming hard to Census Fail. But in like months before, I had mercilessly mocked him for listening to Census Fail. I was like, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I guess I was wrong. Like calling all cars is pretty good.
I think a lot of that is the singer, Buddy Nielsen, is very, at least I know he's gone through a lot, so I'm not like going to talk shit about him, but he was kind of a dork back then.
I specifically mentioning like not talking, all of these I picked because I probably know less about the bands. With the exception of maybe Taking Back Sunday, I never deep dived into any of the bands. I always treated it very much like art. How does it make me feel in the moment? Even when I was young, I always attached feelings to music. Like the Beatles is my dad, Luis Miguel, my mom. Like it was never the artist. What are they up to? Like it was, I heard this song at a time and it made me feel this. So I'm probably like stuck to that song for a while. So I don't know anything about Census Fail. I just remember that it was deeply into it. Like I remember liking it because it was a little bit edgy, and then when I got older, I was like, "What is this?" He's like a fake detective, like the 3-act play, and now I just listen. I still all of the songs that I still listen to in earnest because I remember how they made me feel at the time. And
it's like a photo album, like an audio photo album, and yeah, like I remember feeling like Buddy Nielsen was on this show that was on Much Music, or no Fuse.
Oh my God, Fuse.
And it was like a round table type of show with Steven from Steven's Untitled Rock Show, and they would talk about it was like basically The View but with music.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And they were talking about the Grammys, and Buddy Nielsen was just going off about how like, Jenny Lewis should have been nominated, which is true.
Jenny Lewis should always be nominated.
You know why she's not nominated? Like, you're just an edgelord. Like, you're trying to sound cool by knowing, like, oh, hey, I know who Jenny Lewis is. Like, yeah, so do we. Like, Riley Kiley was a big band too. Like,
good love. Did I just post about Riley Kiley? I love that. Yes.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Those last 4 albums. I mean, shoot, basically all their albums are so good. But yeah, I just remember having this like really bad taste in my mouth about him because I'm like, like, he is how I thought I wanted to be in high school, because like I was very much an edgelord, and like, oh, you're listening to that, I listened to this, and it just like it held a mirror up to my face.
Like, have you seen that SNL Weezer sketch?
Yeah.
I love that sketch. It kind of reminds me of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so yeah, I am the Leslie Jones in that situation. Matt Damon shows up talking about Weezer. Leslie Jones talks about like, true Weezer
you want
fans.
To die.
Yeah. True Weezer fans, like Pinkerton and before, and that's it. And
Weezer didn't start till after.
No, I very much was like that, and non-ironically too. Like, it was very much like that was my personality.
And I do know about bands and stuff. When you reached out, I really took this in earnest because I love everything that you guys do, cover stories and all that. I've always been really deeply jealous of that I didn't come up with that, because you guys did such a good job with that. I wanted to be like, okay, in earnest, what is a mixtape that means something to me? There's obviously a Motion City soundtrack. I know all about them. I've interviewed them. They're amazing. But specifically for this, emo night specifically, I remember the night that I met my son. So I met this girl, and she had a little baby boy. And I invited this young lady out to emo night in Austin. I was like, hey, there's an emo night in Austin at Barbarella, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, okay, I'm going to have my cousin watch my son. I went to go pick her up, and she's like, do you want to meet him? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll meet him. I'd known her. I knew her way back in the day, and I went in, and I held Anthony, and he threw up on me. It was like a movie. Like, this kid just threw up on me right before we head out. It was adorable, and we left that night, and we went, and of all nights, it was the night that the Cubs won the World Series.
Oh, wow.
At emo night in Barbarella. They turned the music off, and on the TVs, they put the World Series on. On an emo night, of all things, the night I first meet this kid that is now like my son, like that's my son. Spider-Man tattoo, that's all him. And 8 years later, I bring it back to that night, that emo night, that because I liked all this stuff, if I wasn't into any of this stuff, would I have met him? You know what I mean? That's why it all kind of, as unserious as it is, it has so much meaning for me.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a cool way to kind of, like I said, like these audio photo albums, I think that this song especially, like you said, it is very unserious. I think it's something that I don't know if it comes up in like the top 10 songs people think of when they like associate emo.
Definitely not. And I want to make that clear. Yeah. I do know what good emo songs of the day are. I do. These are just, they were photo albums. They're memories, and I remember these for whatever reason and how I remember the era.
At the same time, it's not a deep cut either. This is a song you bring up and people are going to have.
If you play it at an emo night, they'll know what it is.
Yeah, for sure. My favorite like fun fact about this is Buddy Nielsen's mom was on the show Guiding Light, the soap opera.
Okay.
And I feel like I heard this. I couldn't find anything that confirmed it, but I thought I heard that Buried Alive's music video was filmed on the same set of Guiding Light.
That you would not surprise me at all. The video is it's also very cheesy too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point of it though. It's like very Scooby-Doo. And I love I was reading a Reddit.
Could I have put What's New Scooby-Doo on this list?
Oh,
would that have been emo at the time? Would that have been emo? I don't know.
I have I feel bad because I hated on Simple Plan for so long.
It's easy to hate.
Yeah. And it's like their Nardwuar interview is like, made me kind of feel bad for them because Nardwuar's like, you guys aren't punk. And they're like, we never said we were. So
it's very punk of them.
Yeah. But I remember they played the last Warped Tour, I think. And I went and I remember like crossing my arms and like, ugh, Simple Plan. And these two kids who were probably like no older than 12 were there. And they were like taking pictures and they were so into it. I'm like, oh man, I'm an asshole. This just isn't for me. Like that's all it comes down to.
I encourage everyone to feel that way. Like, hey, some shit isn't for you. And whatever you enjoy. Just don't be a dick about it.
Yeah, I felt like that was me as like the edgelord Grinch, and my heart just grew just like 5 times. It's like, oh, I'm the asshole. They don't suck because they like music that I don't like.
Yeah. And honestly, Warped Tour was, I took such ownership of Warped Tour because that was like my summer camp for so long that it was a way for kids to discover new music. I did see that a lot, especially the last 3 Warped Tours. I was lucky enough to be media for those. So I got press passes. I got to interview bands and do all. And that was the thing that they brought up so often was that Warped Tour that was how they reached new fans. They were in these cities that they wouldn't normally come to or wouldn't be on a stop, but they were at the Warped Tour, and hundreds of kids were now exposed to this band, which was like, yeah, that's the point of this tour. Kevin Lyman, I interviewed him. He was also a humble brag there. It was amazing. Yeah.
It's, I think that, especially being somebody, I went before I was able to drive, went after I was able to drive, but I remember going before I was able to drive. You get dropped off in the morning. You have 3 hours between bands that you like, and you have
to
figure out what to do. So yeah, you
I
go.
had heat stroke at 2 Warped Tours.
Oh really?
Yeah, medical tent twice. One of them was because I had just seen A Day to Remember, and you should probably take a break after you see A Day to Remember. And a Less Than Jake was playing immediately after. And I was like, I think I could do this. And I passed out in the middle of Less Than Jake. Went straight to the medical tent, heat stroked. It was worth it. All my best friends are metalheads. Seeing that live, I don't know are they still touring? Are they still a band?
Yeah.
I haven't checked.
Yeah, they are. That was my first Warped Tour. That was the band I was like most looking forward to seeing. I remember I bought one of their posters, and my dumbass like bought it before I saw them. So I'm in like the crowd in the mosh pit like with this poster, and it just got destroyed.
I feel like I'm a poser every time I listen to Less Than Jake, because they're a ska band, right? Like I don't like ska, but I love Less Than Jake. So I don't even know what is ska. Like what's another band that I would have heard of that?
So just like emo, ska has several waves, and the third wave ska is kind of like the Orange County, like early No Doubt, Real Big Fish.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. So people like to simplify like, oh, if they have horns, they're a ska band, but it's more about like the upstrokes, and there's a little bit of like dub influence from Jamaica. So you've got like before that, you've got bands like Madness and Slackers. Slackers are kind of like second wave, but they kind of transition to the third wave.
Where does Less Than Jake fall in all
They're
of this?
third wave.
Third wave?
Yeah,
okay.
But they're a little bit, they lean more towards the punk
Streetlight
side.
Manifesto is another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're kind of on the cusp of third and fourth wave, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, I never really and it's another thing, I never bothered to understand it either. It was like, I like this, I'm going to kind of stick to this, and I kind of take it as it comes. Yeah. I feel like, especially now, if I thought this then, I know it's for certain now. There's just too much stuff out there to even try to look for everything.
Yeah.
There's just so much content now, whether it be audio podcasts or video podcasts or television shows. It was true of music then, and I think it's just true of everything now. So I don't know. I've never been much of I'm going to go search for something new. I just kind of take it as it comes, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm kind of lame that way.
No, I mean, it's just overwhelming. I mean, especially as an adult, I mean, with responsibilities, it's hard to kind of take that time. I feel like pre-social media, you had Kazaa, LimeWire. And
when I was on all those.
You had to be lucky that what you downloaded was what you were wanting to download.
Especially, and that comes from, I love that I feel like we had an extended adolescence like than our parents did. Like we could be kids a lot longer than our parents could have been kids. And I think that helped me figure out myself more in terms of like what I like, what music I like, what I don't like, because I was able to be a kid for much longer and try new stuff.
Yeah.
Because now as an adult, I just feel like my capacity for trying new things is so limited, and I don't know if it's a good thing, but I feel like I got a good enough breath to like respect the things that I don't understand or don't like in terms of like music and content and stuff like that.
For sure. I think that, we've been talking about Warped Tour a lot, and one of the things I look at like from Warped Tour from the times that I went is I always think about Underoath and NoFX.
Oh my God, I love Underoath.
And how they had this kind of ideology battle, because back at the time, Underoath was like a Christian
band, yeah.
And NoFX are like, they harbor on, I don't even know if they are atheists, but they have this
agnostic.
Yeah. And I remember for the longest time, I wasn't super into Underoath, but I wanted the Underoath shirt that said Underoath doesn't believe in dinosaurs.
NoFX was always, they rode that wave really well. You mentioned like being edgelords, but like they meant it. Like you could tell that they weren't bullshitting. Like they were just who they were. I don't know. I don't even know where I was going, but yeah, I do love NoFX too. So
yeah, it was interesting to see. I think that was 06. That was the 06 Warped Tour, I think, and I feel like that was the end of Warped Tour as like a quote unquote like punk festival. They're still pop punk or whatever, but like that was. I mean, the NoFX would play at later Warped Tours too, but I feel like that was kind of the end. That was a transition into like third wave emo taking over the Warped Tour, and I feel like Underoath is kind of at the center of that because they were huge at the time. Mm-hmm. Your second song is, Reinventing Your Exit. Every time I watch this music video, there's two things that come to mind. The first is that the twins that are in the video were on American Idol. No shit. And I remember seeing American Idol. I don't remember what season. I remember seeing like those guys look familiar, and I realized like, oh, those are the guys from Underoath video.
That one, it makes me think of my friend Carlos, who loved Underoath. And if we're talking about an emo night, hearing that song at an emo night, we're talking about emo night must-haves, at least for me. Man, people go crazy for it. I go crazy for it. It gets the room like that 12th and Hyde on a Sunday, feeling like we're man, that's so much fun for me. So that's go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, they played the whole album in entirety in 2016, and that was one of the first shows I got to take photos for in the photo pit.
Nice.
And it was a lot of fun. I had a blast.
I always get anxiety in those photo pits. Yeah, because I think they tell you can only do the first 3 songs or something like that, and it's just snapping away crazily. Like, am I getting good shot? I don't know. But yeah. I
just recently started doing it again, and I still have that anxiety. And not just that, and also, like, for me at least, I get a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, this person has a Canon, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've got my little Sony mirrorless camera.
Yeah. Who's taking their badass camera to the front of the emo show, like, you know, to see Underoath? Who's covering? What paper is this going to be that you need like a 1DX? You know what I mean?
I mean, I've seen some that are like amazing, and like I've seen some.
Maybe it's the label sending for like, I don't know.
A lot of them are like the Current, and then like St.
Yeah, but even the Current, like you're uploading it to like a website that has like 600 ads on it, so. Again, you don't need a 1DX. I always found like the best camera is the one you have on you. And sure, for print, I don't know. It was overkill. I think some people were just flexing.
Yeah.
And that's how I always felt. I did feel the imposter syndrome all the time, but that was just like, just for even being there. Once I was there, I was like, I felt like I could make something happen. But even just being there next to them, I was like, I can't let them know that I don't belong here.
Yeah. And then everyone's always been nice to me too. It's just like all internal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I at that show, I had a +1, so I brought my friend who was a big fan. He was in the pit, and I'm like, Underoath's fine. I'm not super into them, but I was up against the wall, and
you did not.
I was leaning against the wall. He texted me, "Hey, where are you at?" And I like typed in "up against the wall," and it took him like 30 minutes to realize I was referencing the song.
That's so good. Yeah, Underoath. It's on the list because it's a banger. Specifically that one makes me think of my best friend Carlos. He loved that band, and I think I saw them at Sunset Station when it was still open for, it was like some club, and I took my little sister there, and it was the first time that me and my sister had ever been to a show together. She wanted to see, it was Taking Back Sunday, Underoath, and Armor for Sleep. Great, like a hell of a lineup, and that was one of the songs that we heard on the car on the way to the show, and I never really, me and my sister never had really anything in common. I was just always a shithead, and she was just like a really good, sweet, wholesome person who never got in trouble. So I remember that as being one of the ways that I just remember that show with her. Yeah,
that's dope. I love those situations, and I feel like you see these types of situations like in movies, but I feel like it happens a lot more often than people realize.
A lot of the cliches that you see in movies are just because they feel like cliches because they're almost universal experiences.
Yeah.
Snoring.
Teddy's snoring right now. He's adding the ad libs.
He's agreeing with me.
Yeah.
But, brother, this guy stinks.
But yeah, I think with Underoath, it was definitely of the time. Do you prefer like that era of Underoath or the previous era with like Dallas Taylor?
Oh man, they're both good. Fuck. I like both. Like if we go in my like playlist right now, you'll find both eras. It just and I don't listen to that much Underoath. It's like a couple of them. Mm-hmm. So I think both. I think I'm cool. They were great in both. Like even one of my favorite bands, the Chiodos, when they had, I think, was it Brandon, whoever, the new guy who took over for Craig, the lead singer of Chiodos, even his era was really good. Technically, it was the best era of Chiodos because they played the tightest guitar, like the best riffs. But the original Chiodos, all those members, they just hammered out classic songs that I like that everybody knows. So I don't know. The same with Underoath. I bring those up too because they had two distinct eras, and I still listen to both.
Yeah, I don't know if because I had friends who were very like they appreciated both, but they like were very like Team Dallas Taylor, and I don't know if they still feel that way. I don't know if that was just a thing at the time. I felt like we were kind of trained to do that. I mean,
to take sides. Yeah.
I recorded an
That's
episode.
Very Taking Back Sunday, brand new. Yeah.
I recorded an episode with Wayne. We were talking about Britney versus Christina, and I don't want to sound like a mom, but like, why not both? You know?
I just had this discussion. Like, Christina, I feel like was a better singer, but better pop star. Fucking Britney all the way.
Yeah.
And then, man, I literally just had this conversation with Shiley, who you guys should have her on her own show. She's amazing. Who's the best singer? Like, of the modern era, like the Mariah Careys, that stuff. And I think we settled on Mariah Carey being the best, but
she's the most skillful for sure, I think.
I do love the Ariana Grande. She's a fucking great singer. But then I also said, like, Kelly Clarkson has to be up there. Because there's not a song that Kelly Clarkson can't fucking... There's not a note that she can't hit. And she does have that little pop star where she can take a Billie Eilish song or an Ariana Grande song and like make it her own in a really musical way, not like a gimmicky way. So...
Yeah, I think it's so funny.
What cul-de-sac did we go down?
Well, no, it's funny because this is all relevant because like the last episode we recorded, I was talking about Kelly Clarkson is the most underrated pop star.
And I think
the biggest range of genre-wise, at least.
Yeah. I just don't think she never had the popularity of a Mariah Carey, but I think in terms of like her vocal prowess, she's definitely up there.
Yeah, oh for sure. Your next song on your list is Helena, My Chemical Romance, also from 2004, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge.
Deeply unserious song. Just over dramatic and so of the era. Specifically for an emo night. I feel like you put that on, I don't think there's a single person there who's not going to be singing that song. And yeah, there was a lot of My Chemical Romance's songs that I could have put on there. I think I'm Not Okay would have probably been another good one, but Helena just cuts deep.
I think this is the number one song on their Spotify, like the first song. And I never thought about it till recently, but I think it might be their best song. And this isn't to say like the other ones are not to put into frame that they're lesser than, even though that's essentially what we're saying, but it's just that good.
It is that good. It holds up every time. There's something about Gerard Way's, like in Teenagers, his screams, his growls, and Famous Last Words is also another like excellent song. But I keep coming back to Helena because the nostalgia's there, the dramatics of the era are there. I can... black finger paint and like eyeshadow. It feels, and I love that song. Like that was straight up. It was so mainstream too.
Yeah,
it was like one of those emo songs that just kind of you could hear like the preppy kids.
Oh yeah,
jamming out to this every now and then.
Oh for sure. The thing that's interesting about that music video is the woman that plays Helena in the video is Wade Phillips' daughter.
What?
The coach, former coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I learned this maybe about a year or two ago, and I tweeted, oh my God, the woman who played Helena is Wade Phillips' daughter. And Wade Phillips himself replied to me and said, we're so proud of her. She's so talented.
What?
He was like such a proud dad. It was, and at first I thought, I was like, oh, it's just like a parody account.
Frame that tweet.
Yeah. Just, I thought it was like a parody account or something, but I was like, oh no, this is actually him. Like he's just really proud of his daughter.
Wait, isn't Wade Phillips the coach of the Brahmas now?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to the XFL, USFL.
Can you look that up? Look up who the Brahmas coach. I'm almost certain it's Wade Phillips. That's crazy. We could talk to him about this. Let's get him on the show.
Just have him on the show. So your favorite music videos that your daughter's been in. But it's funny because, in regards to emo nights and this song, my wife and I, for Halloween one year, we dressed up. Oh, wow. He is.
I was like, why does Wade Phillips? I feel like I'd heard about him recently. Yeah, he's talking about San Antonio. Let's keep it local, Wade Phillips.
We should have him on.
I think we could.
But my wife and I dressed up like she was Helena, I was Gerard Way, and we went to an emo night, and it was like dressing up like Santa Claus at a pre-K, like everyone. And it's one of those things that like we're not going to be the only ones there dressed up like them, but we were, and it was just like I had friends who were like taking pictures with us, and then other people were like oh, you're like, you know, it was like obvious what we were, but like it just blew our minds that it didn't cross anybody else. It was on Halloween night too.
Yeah,
like,
so it could be anything. They're just ghouls.
Yeah.
I think for me, I love My Chemical Romance. Unironically, they're dramatic in all the right ways. They're earnestly dramatic. Like you go even into Gerard Way's comics and into the Umbrella Academy, you could tell that that's what he's into. He's into the dramatic. He's into like the dark, and he lives it. He breathes it. It never felt fake coming from My Chemical Romance. It always felt earnest. And I think Head First for Halos is one of my favorite songs.
Dude, yes.
When I was learning to play guitar, that was one of the songs that I was like, I just loved playing that song. They have a lot of really, really, really good music. It just so happens that Helena is perfect for emo.
Yeah. And I feel like that first album, You Brought Me Bullets, is the most underrated of their albums. And it's Head First for Halos is on there. This Mirror's Not Big Enough for the Both of Us.
It feels so punk.
Yeah. I mean, they essentially were. I mean, they were coming out of New Jersey. They're like fans of like Thursday, and like, I mean, everyone has to be a fan of Misfits if you're from New Jersey. It's like a law, which fair enough. But like, I remember I was listening to a podcast with Jeff Rickley, and he was talking about he produced some songs on that Ibo Records album, and Gerard Way, he was talking to Gerard about it, and he was like, I think you guys are going to be really big. And he's like, Gerard Way was like, do you think we'll be as big as Thursday? He's like, you guys are going to be 10 times bigger, if not more.
That album, again, it sounds so punk. It's so fast. Everything is such high tempo, really fast drumming. Feels like nothing is run through like a preamp or nothing. It's just like you're hearing it as it was recorded. So yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I've always liked the songs from there, and that the music video for, I think it's This Mirror's Not Big Enough for Both of Us, is also a reference to The Audition, the horror movie, the Japanese horror movie.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but
that's how I learned about The Audition. The same way, I mean, I didn't learn about Fight Club from Taking Back Sunday, but like the parallels were there, and I love that like you said.
I heard I've heard Taking Back Sunday before I ever saw Fight Club. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it was. That's a neat video, and yeah, you guys. I think even back then I was I'm an immigrant. I didn't really learn English until I was like 5 or 6 years old. So much of my time was spent catching up to media and music and stuff like that. A lot of my early influences were all Timbiriche or some sort of weird Mexican mega band. And a lot of it is me catching up. I always tell the story how I never watched The Wizard of Oz. There was a point in time, I don't know why. I know every single reference because I Googled it or I researched, and I was like, who the fuck is a Lollipop Guild? Yellow Brick Road? Like, people would make references, and I'm never going to watch The Wizard of Oz ever in my life, but I know everything about it. And that, again, that just comes from, there's a lot of shit to watch. It's never interesting enough. If I know the references, I think I'll be all right.
I think that's interesting to think about in the sense that I don't know if that's ever gonna, if anything, any artifacts from our generation are going to have that same type of situation where you can see it without actually seeing it. Like, I didn't realize until about a couple of years ago I'd never actually seen The Godfather, but I knew everything that happened in there because the references would be like The Simpsons or like, I don't know if Muppet Babies ever did, but I feel like if somebody did, they should have referenced it. Sesame Street probably.
They must have.
Yeah, like this, like even like the like innocuous stuff, you know, like the
stuff you wouldn't even recognize until you saw the movie and you're like, oh wait, is that The Godfather?
Yeah, and I don't know if, I mean, a lot of it too is there's just so much media out there. There's so many things going on at once. We have more access to so many different things. But yeah, and I feel like this era of emo was very, very good about referencing these things. I mean, this is the most millennial thing.
Yeah.
Because our entire generation is based off of things that we like.
It was mixing like, that's why you see the 2004, 2005 of it is like, it hit because it was all high school and it was like, I'm being dramatic and it's girls and it's like dramatic and unserious, and they were making the references, but they, you know, like as an adult, just different. But now it's like, again, photograph album. But everything about that era for me is all high school and all the feelings and stuff of high school. So
I think it's just, I love that it wasn't hammered over your head either. Like to the point where you didn't even know Fight Club was a reference for Taking Back Sunday. And it was the IYKYK. We are the IYKYK generation, you know? I
do remember going like, after I saw Fight Club, I hadn't even put two and two together until I happened to see the music video again. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. But that happens to me a lot in my life because so much of, classic movies for me were like Cantinflas and stuff like that. So, again, just catching up to the culture.
Yeah. I feel like this is like the perfect time to be alive for that, to catch up, because you are consuming.
Streaming services have everything. I can get anything I want on Vudu.
But you're also consuming 10 different things in the music video. Like you're listening to a song, but the visuals are telling a story and they're referencing several different things too.
Also, there's no more music videos.
Yeah, I miss that. I mean, there's still some bands who put them out occasionally. I feel like Pup does really good music videos.
I haven't seen any. Well, you know what? I haven't been looking, and also I'm referencing probably like the Ariana Grandes. Like they're the only ones, that level of pop stars, Dua Lipa's. They're the ones that have music videos, the big rappers. And does a Citizen still do a music video that's not like some live set?
I don't know. I know that, I mean, the ones that like I follow occasionally, there are some, but like I think the biggest thing is we don't have an outlet for it. Like MTV is like 24/7 ridiculousness, like literally the show ridiculousness.
But that's true, but also cameras are much more accessible.
Yeah.
Video editing equipment is much more accessible. I feel like we should see a lot more. Maybe I'm just not looking. People are screaming at me like, oh yeah, this band did this, and
maybe
I just haven't been looking.
I know Pup has great music videos. That's how I got into Pup, was through YouTube. Just looking for stuff to find through YouTube. This is before I had Spotify, really, and just scrolling through and seeing, looking up a set of a band I like, and then someone references another music video from a band that I may like, and then I end up liking them.
I do like a music video. I was on Shrooms when I saw one from Crumb. A song called Lock It. That song is trippy as hell.
Oh, yeah.
You seen it? Okay, I'm not the only one. Did I imagine that? But yeah, I was on Shrooms when I saw that, and that's actually a great music video. I love people being creative.
Yeah.
And like you guys.
Oh, thanks. Likewise.
Honestly, I'm not that creative. I really am not. I think what I do the best is I take someone else's idea and like help them form it. I think that's what I'm best at. Like anytime I'm talking to a client, they're like, ooh, we want to do something like this, even better, because I can recreate that and make it kind of my own in a way. But my sister's a creative one. My dad's creative. I'm more technically savvy than.
But that takes creativity too. I mean,
you don't gotta let it kick it, Craig.
No, like for real. I ain't blowing smoke up your ass. Like that takes some creativity in ways to kind of mold that, you are providing the like directions to that, even if you're not necessarily.
I do just enjoy working with creative people and having their outlet, like being an outlet for them. As a lot of people get really excited about wanting to do something, but they just don't even know where to start. I love that process because it's like, okay, now I can show you, use my tools to get to where you want to go. I do love doing that.
Yeah. Your next song is Decade Under Influence by Taking Back Sunday, off of Where You Want to Be, which is also 2004. This is the beginning of the era where I thought I had a vendetta against Taking Back Sunday.
Because you were a brand new guy?
Well, I mean, at the time I was. That doesn't age well here, but specifically because they played Warped Tour. They had technically broken up, and this is when John Nolan left
and
Straight Light Run,
yeah.
So they came back. They got back together. They got new guitar, new bassist. And they're playing Warped Tour 04. I'm there. This is the first Warped Tour I've gone with like my new friends in high school. And I'm excited. And they're waiting in line to get autographs from Taking Back Sunday. And they're like, hey, just cut in line with us. I'm like, cool. So I like cut in line with them, stay in line for like an hour, get to the front, and their security guard like tells me, oh no, you cut. You need to like leave. I'm like, you know what? That's fair. I cut, but you could have told me that an hour ago.
He was like
man.
waiting for you to get up there.
Yeah.
I love Taking Back Sunday. This is on the list because it's a great emo night song. Again, everyone's gonna know it. Everyone's gonna be singing it. Taking Back Sunday is one of my favorite new bands. I always have a hard time saying greatest band. When I say one of the greatest bands, I think there's tiers, right? So there's like my Beatles, they're on another shelf.
Yeah.
This is like my shelf of the bands that I collected, that me growing up and discovering the music that I like. That's what was on my shelf as like the greatest bands, right? I love Taking Back Sunday. There was a girl that I liked in my freshman year of high school. She would sit right in front of me in science class, and she had a binder with Taking Back Sunday. She clearly had printed it out and put it on on the front cover of her binder, and had such a huge crush on her that I was like, what is this? What is this band? Let me pretend like I like them. Fucking fell in love with them. I've seen them 7 times. It just, I don't even know what I like about them that much. When I bring up Taking Back, it's all feeling. Motion City soundtrack, it was the same era. It just reminds me of high school so much in a cheesy way. Again, super dramatic, what was the line you just used a little while ago that you hate? That ruined the You're So Last Summer. With my last gasping breath.
Yeah. Apologize for bleeding on your shirt. Your shirt.
Yeah. It's just so unserious, so dramatic, so high school. And I love it.
That feels like a parody. Like it probably is in a sense. Like these.
They had fucking Flavor Flav on that one specific video.
But that song, I mean, they're in their early mid-20s. Like they have to recognize like this is a total high school ass line. And I have to imagine they were giggling when they like, oh, this is actually what we're gonna write.
I don't know, man. So many people of that era, that scene, might have not been.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who took that was their like aim away message, and that was something that it just made me hate the song more because I like the song otherwise. It just that song that part completely ruins it for me.
I think more people would have chosen Q without the E. I've heard that so many times that it doesn't have any meaning anymore. Oh, really? It's just like I've heard it. If you give me a guitar right now, I'll play that for you. Yeah. It's like muscle memory. I know every note of that song, and I just can't hear it anymore. I need I'll probably I won't listen to it for a year before I can hear it again, just as I've heard it so many times. But A Decade Under the Influence on a car ride with friends, it still fucking hits.
I've come back to this album, and I really like it a lot more than I thought I did. I think Louder Now, it started with Louder Now. Like, I really liked Make Damn Sure, and it made me kind of go back. And I think their best music video is Set Phasers to Stun.
Oh, my God.
Because the little kids doing it.
It's so good.
For years, I couldn't find it. Like, I remember it was never on any YouTube. I had to, like, use, like, a European YouTube link to find it, and now it's there. And I don't know what happened if I was just...
Some copyright stuff maybe happens here and there. And it's not even like my favorite. I think their best song they ever wrote was on when John Nolan came back, and they had an album called Taking Back Sunday, and it's Call Me in the Morning is probably my all-time favorite Taking Back Sunday song. Good vocals, tight guitars, the production is solid, the feeling of the song. Maybe it caught me at a different wave when I was, falling in love again with someone else. And I think that's my all-time favorite song from Taking Back Sunday right now. But nostalgically, I think A Decade Under the Influence is even more than Q Without the E is probably right up there for me.
I think it's probably one of their most underrated songs. And it was a single too, right? Like
I don't even remember if it was a single or not, but it was one of their... It wasn't what was the other one off that same album?
Set Pictures of Sun was on that
Yes.
one. And then
Timberwolves in New Jersey.
that was the first one.
The first one, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That perfect for emo night, I guess. I'm trying to stay on topic here because I could go on and on about Taking Back Sunday and Straight Light Run and that whole era. Even The Color Fred. I like a couple songs here and there, even though he turned out to be a big old weirdo too.
Oh, is he really?
I don't know. I think he was just a dick, not a weirdo. But again, I didn't look into it that much. But for an emo night, that one always hits.
Like what you're saying about Keep It at the E, like I get the sentiment. I think it's exceeded that for me to where like I think even if I hear it 10 times in a row, I'm still gonna be like kind of hyped by it.
Yeah.
And there probably was a time where I was
sick
sick
right
of
there.
it.
I literally like my fingers go straight to that.
Yeah.
I played it so much, so.
It's funny because the intro to that song is almost the same chords as "Pardon Me" by Incubus.
Oh wow! No, I didn't.
Very slight, like different variations, and it goes from there. And then the chorus is very similar to Fat Lip.
Oh my god, I love that
same
song.
chords, different pattern, like different sequence. So I've always like anytime I'm messing around with a guitar and I play that, I end up going to one of those two songs afterwards.
Me too. I mean, just muscle memory. I can't even help it. I can't even help it. And then, I think I can't say enough about Taking Back Sunday. Love them. I'll probably go see them again. They're on my bucket list to interview. I got, like I said, Motion City Soundtrack's probably on that list of like, I can't believe I interviewed them, bucket list stuff.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was the first episode of that show that I ever did was Motion City Soundtrack. Which
we should hang out more?
Yeah, we should hang out more. Which I do want to bring back. You guys make me want to bring back a show.
Do it. You should. I enjoyed it.
So much work. So much work. I don't think I've seen you because I knew you got married. So congratulations. I don't think I've face-to-face congratulated you on that. How long have you been married now?
It'll be 2 years in September.
I haven't seen you in like over 2 years, which is crazy. So yeah, no, this is fun. I kind of want to do it again now too.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
It's a lot for putting more work on my plate.
It's fun work, at least.
This is fun.
So this last song you chose is kind of a slight left turn because it's from 2005. It's off of All We Know Is Falling, or is it All We Know Is Failing?
All We Know Is Failing?
Failing by Paramore. Pressure.
It's their best song.
Is it?
I think so. I think so. I don't know if because it's the one I remember the most before they blew up. Bringing back Warped Tour, I remember seeing them on a teeny tiny little stage as Warped Tour was ending. My friend Carlos was like, "Oh, I want to see this band called Paramore," and sure, we stayed. There was a handful of people there. They played Pressure, and it was just like, "Oh fuck, this band rock." We had just gotten back from. I remember this so well because we had just left Boys Like Girls. It was just like, they were somehow bigger than Paramore at the time, which is insane to think about. And that era of Paramore was amazing. I don't think there was a band like them with like at least that there will be. I know someone is going to be screaming at the mic here. But for me, a woman-led band like that, playing some badass music like that was sort of new at the time, at least for me. And it was super cool.
No, I think that it's interesting just because you bring up Warped Tour, and I remember in 04 or 05, my friend, we were all doing our own thing. And we met up at the end of the day, and
the Verizon Wireless Amphitheater. I think.
Yeah. It was before they went to AT&T Center, and she's like, "Oh, like this guy just played his band for me, and I bought a $5 like CD, and it was Paramore."
That was so. I remember the fact that you could do that, and they were just selling their CDs. Like, does that still happen? Like,
I don't know. I don't know if it was happening at Warped Tour before it ended. Or even at any other place. I can't imagine that happens because you don't. Back then, you would follow the tour.
I actually don't go to festivals. Like, I haven't been to like an EDC or something like that. I'm sure that there's DJs. No, well, because they're like, come check out my SoundCloud probably. Or my Spotify.
There's a link. Yeah.
Fuck. Okay, maybe that doesn't.
And
happen.
for a while, I felt like there was like they would have like cheap flash drives.
Oh yeah. Let me just put this in my computer.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so crazy to think of that blow up from there. And I will say that I need to admit that like they were there, and they were like, it wasn't a band I disliked. It wasn't a band I was really into until I saw them. There was a festival in New Jersey last year called Adjacent Fest, and Blink-182 was headlining one night, Paramore was headlining a different night, and my wife and I went, and seeing Paramore live made me fall in love with them.
Yeah, with the backflip that they do, I forgot which song, that they did it at every show that they did. The guitarist and the bassist, they would do a little flip. I forgot, maybe it was Pressure, but it was one of the few bands that I was very much a trend chaser or whatever. Like I didn't go out of my way to discover new music, but that was one of the few bands that I was like, oh my God, like no one knows about this. And then when they got famous, I got all like, well, I knew them before that, like, so that song specifically, one of my favorite Paramore songs. They don't play really that often. They played
it last year.
They played it last year?
Yeah, but they had like an hour and a half set. But I guess they probably play longer at their like regular headlining shows.
Yeah, and then didn't they tour with Taylor Swift too?
I think they're currently on tour with Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay.
I think because I remember seeing a bus,
and I don't imagine they'll play Pressure at a Taylor Swift. They're going to play like other stuff,
Hard Times era stuff, or After Laughter era stuff. I saw an article. It wasn't BuzzFeed, but there was an article saying, "Who is this Hayley Williams from Paramore opening up for Taylor Swift?" And I felt like it was totally clickbait.
Yeah,
like there's no
way
they
knew they knew what they were doing when they were
piss off
that.
some people, and they're gonna get some engagement. But yeah, she's amazing. I feel like,
and a good like a straight up just, we talking about good singers. Hayley Williams is up there as an amazing singer.
You hear her, and then you can hear shades of like Mariah. Like she doesn't sound like Mariah Carey, but you can tell she liked Mariah Carey when growing up, especially that After Laughter. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like that in retrospect in compared to the other albums because it's like the Caribbean aspect of things, but I really like it because you hear a lot of like 90s R&B pop on it. You hear Mariah Carey, you hear a little bit of like that era Whitney Houston, Waiting to Exhale, like era Whitney Houston. You could tell that was stuff that Hayley Williams was into. And I think their self-titled album I think is my favorite, with Still Into You.
Oh my God, so good, yeah.
And I going backwards, I feel like I feel like an idiot for missing out. But then again, I also feel like my palette is a lot better now than it was when they were.
Those notes she hits and All I Wanted Was You, like that last one. Oh my God, it's so crazy. As a singer, but yeah, that era for me was like, I was like, oh fuck, like no one really listened to. It was one of those bands that were like, who at the time, and that one is one of my favorite songs ever, and just so happens to be a Paramore song. Again, 2004, 2005, just high school shit.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to the 20th. I mean, we are in the 20th anniversary of some of these albums, and it's just a testament to like.
Didn't My Chemical Romance already do like a whole 20th anniversary?
I don't think so, because I think they're playing When We Were Young. I think they're doing Black Parade, which is weird because maybe it makes more sense to do Three Cheers instead. But
that's another band that I wish I could go see them. I probably will go see them, but the arena tours that are like $300 for a ticket, as much as I love, I'm probably not gonna.
Yeah,
and then I also like being closer to the front. I like being GA and being in the crowd. I hate the idea of. I think I saw Rage Against the Machine. No, it was. What is it when they toured with someone else?
Prophets of Rage.
Prophets of Rage.
Okay.
And
I saw D.
Yeah. I saw them at the now Frost Center way back when. It was AT&T Center, and I was sitting in the stands. It was like a cheap $20-$30 ticket. It was not. It was. Yeah. It wasn't anything fun. It wasn't fun for me, and so I'd rather be at the front. And then I don't know why I'm being so cheap.
Well, I mean, it's just the whole point of it is like the community of it. You can see a band that you love, and if the crowd's not into it, then it kind of takes you out of it too. And if you're with 100,000, but like 15,000 people, it not even just that it doesn't feel as special, but it's just like it's hard to really vibe with that the way you're used to.
There was a time when me and Carlos, I didn't know it was Carlos at the time because we he likes his own music and I like my music. And during Warped Tour, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to go see this. I'm going to go see that one. And we went to go see Motion City soundtrack. I should have put them on the list, but I just liked them too much in such a serious way that they didn't belong. And I don't think they hit as hard in emo nights, really. I don't think they...
I feel like that they have the biggest like fans, but they don't have a lot of them the same way some of these other bands do.
I completely agree with that. And the story I was going to say was I was waiting for Carlos to meet me at Motion City. You know, cell phone, there's no reception there, the stupid phone. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to watch Motion City by myself. And no one's jumping. They're just kind of like there. And I'm like jumping, and there's just like this one other guy jumping. And I'm like, fuck, where's Carlos? And it's Carlos. Is the other guy jumping? And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, so it's just us? Okay, cool. And, but yeah, we talked a lot about Warped Tour this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, Warped Tour, that was the era for all this stuff too. We talked about Gossip Girl last time, didn't we? Last time you and I talked, we did a show. We talked about Gossip Girl for some reason. We ended up talking about those random shit.
Yeah, it's funny because like I love doing this podcast and recording them and talking to different people because there's always these like themes. Like the last episode we recorded, we talked about Gossip Girl.
Really?
Yeah,
it's such a good show. I feel like it was too popular for its own good, but it's actually like a fun. I don't know. It's just a good soap opera. Good modern soap opera.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like this. It's so funny now watching shows now that like our generation are executives and are like able to like fund, and you see like a lot of millennial culture in the shows that you're watching, and then recognizing like what we had as millennials like growing up too. Like it's very different, but there's still like a similar vibe. Mm-hmm. Like watching like Abbott Elementary is a total millennial show.
Oh my god, it's so good. Yes,
and I wouldn't ever compare that to Gossip Girl, but there is like similar feelings in the sense of like how it relates to music and how it relates to this like culture. I mean, there's different culture obviously, but like
it definitely hits the culture. Abbott Elementary. It's gonna be a Parks and Rec. People are gonna be quoting that shit forever. And yeah, for sure. Man, that one's good. That's good.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you want to add about your playlist, any of the songs?
No, don't make fun of me, please. Oh, you can make fun of me. I can. Come tell me about it at my restaurant, at Inna's Lounge in Stone Oak or at Sabor. Tell me how much this playlist sucks or doesn't suck or what songs you do like. So shameless plug for my restaurant there.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask if you wanted to plug something.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's a lot to make fun of here, except Census Fail. No, I mean, even then, like everyone has the Census Fail type band.
I think there's only two songs that I like from Census Fail, like, and that's Calling All Cars and this one. What other song is there really that stands out?
Was it Steven?
No.
With Bite to Break Skin. That was one of the first guitar riffs I ever learned. That
Census Fail is living off emo nights across the country because of these two songs.
So it's funny, Let It Unfold You is turning 20 this year, and I'm pretty sure they're touring with Saves the Day for Through Being Cool's 25th anniversary. They kind of put a teaser out.
What was that song that, honestly, you put me onto a song... Ebola-Rama.
Oh, who does that? Every
Time I Die.
Yeah.
I had never heard that song, and then
I was 20 years old.
You put me onto that one like a couple years ago when we last talked. I listen to that song all the time. That song is so fucking good.
That song has a special place in my heart with college, like my sophomore years of my first apartment. And I never drank in high school, so I caught up a lot in college, and that song reminds me of that era.
So good. That was one. Speaking of like new music or you recommended to me, so I listened, and now it's part of my like regular like. Oh, let me go back and listen to that one. That's me discovering something from like how long ago? 20 years ago? You said,
yeah, and hopefully this comes out for people who listen to it can kind of revisit these songs and kind of have the same type of experience.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thanks, man.
You guys do a great job here.
Thanks for listening to Mixtape Stories.
And scene.